Hello everybody, welcome once again to my channel, Healing After Abuse. It's really important that we heal after the abuse. The abuse is shocking and sometimes it's so bad you even can't tell people about it because they just couldn't cope. So I think you have to get counselling or have one friend or someone you can talk to sometimes. And today I want to talk to you about the possibility that you might have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. I think that people who've suffered abuse have trauma. That's the beginning and the end of the story. Anything that's abusive, and particularly very bad abuse, will create trauma in the body and it just gets held there. This is the problem with abuse, particularly when you're little and you're in an abusive environment. Maybe there's sexual abuse, maybe there's beatings, hittings, screaming, yelling, all the different verbal abuse that we get, and you live in that violent environment, that trauma gets sort of settled in the body and it gets settled in the brain and the mind and it gets locked in there because you have no way to process it, so it just locks in. The trouble with that is that you keep carrying it for the rest of your life and you might not even know you have it. So even after the trauma's finished, maybe you're not living home anymore, or maybe you're out of that terrible relationship, or maybe the violence around you in a kind of a raid or a bank robbery is finished, the trauma is still locked in the body, it's still locked in the mind and the brain, and then you will have all the symptoms that come with it. It's like a delayed reaction. That's probably the best way to say it. You'll still be living your normal life or trying to, but it won't be like a normal person. And that's why I wanted to do this particular podcast, is because it's hard to be a normal person and feel good and happy in your life when you're carrying so much trauma. And you can have physical trauma from being beaten or sexual abuse. You can have emotional trauma from the way you were brought up and maybe a lot of neglect there, emotional neglect and abandonment. You have mental trauma, psychological trauma as well. So there's lots of different traumas that you can actually have through all the different abusive situations. Unfortunately for people who've been abused and have been victims to this early in their life, it sets a kind of a pattern up, and for some unknown reason will end up attracting and will end up being with abusers. Now, they might be a different form of abuser. For example, maybe your dad beat you, and your mum beat you and hit you. It was very screaming and verbal abusive. And then later on you'll end up having partners who are abusive, but it's different. Maybe they're emotionally abusive. Maybe they are mentally abusive, psychologically abusive, which is a much more subtle form, but it still causes trauma in you. So then you have emotional trauma, mental trauma, psychological trauma. The symptoms of PTSD are on the internet. I think you should go and read them. I think you might find yourself in it. When I read it, it was like, yes, 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 yes. It was like that. It was like just a ticky box for me. And I think you'll find that you're really useful. Just touching on the major ones, you'll have depression, you'll have anxiety, and quite strong. You will be a very stressed person. I found little things stress me, like not normal people would be that stressed about these type of things. You'll have a lot of fear as well. You'll fear things and be scared of things more than a normal person. There's also other things that are quite physical. For example, you might have illnesses that they can't find anything wrong with you. You go and have the blood tests or the tests, they found nothing wrong with you because the illness is psychosomatic. It's from the trauma and it's exhibiting as an illness or pain in your body. You're just not dealing with the trauma or remembering it, and you have pain in that area. Sleeping problems, insomnia, can't go to sleep, wake up in the night, can't go back to sleep, or you sleep too much. You can also have eating problems. There's been a direct correlation made between abuse and eating disorders. This can be, you can be bulimic, anorexic, binge eating and then vomiting. And you can also have that you can't swallow when you get upset. So if you get upset, you can't eat because you just can't get it down. Or if you get upset, you overeat. And overeating is a big one. I believe that there are some people in our community who have the eating problem, which is they can't stop eating and they have a lack of protection. They get really, really big. And I think that's just showing the abuse, the trauma that they're dealing with, because they eat to try to, I don't know, make themselves feel better, swallow it down, soothe themselves. These are all the different ones that are there, and there are many, many more. So go and have a look. You'll also have body aches sometimes and pains. And then, of course, flashbacks. You might be somewhere and just from watching something or be with somebody and you remember, when your mother was beating you or your father was throwing you across the room. It can be these kind of things, or your partner was screaming you into the corner. Abuse is shocking, and it's shocking the effect it has on the body and the mind, and that's what creates these problems like the post-traumatic stress disorder. There's many things you can do to help yourself with it. I think if you think you have it, you can go and see your doctor, you can go to a psychologist, you can take medication if you want. Some people do that just to make it easier for themselves. You can go to naturopaths, try herbal things, do acupuncture, go to healers. I believe you can also do emotional freedom tapping, which I use, which I find very, very good. And there are many things that can help you, like hypnosis. Hypnosis can help you to relive it to a degree, and then it releases from your body and you can let it go. If you've had a lot of abuse, do a lot of letting go. Try to let it go. Do meditations where you let go of the trauma that your body suffered. And also be really kind to yourself. You can burn oils to calm yourself and use teas to calm yourself. You came in and you were this little kid and everything was good and you were happy, and this happened to you. It wasn't your fault. Or you grew up and everything had been good and you met somebody and you got into an abusive situation with them because maybe they were abusive. I feel being a victim of abuse is a reality, but we now want to be a survivor of it. If you start to think that, yes, I probably do have post-traumatic stress, then you can go and do something about it. But while you walk around thinking you don't have it, I think you're not able to deal with it then. I was kind of shocked to find out that I had it, but when I realised it sort of explained everything to me, and it all made sense now, because I'm quite a capable person, do lots of things, but I know that I'm not like a normal person who had the wonderful life and it was all great and lovely early life and wonderful marriage or partnership, and they don't have much abuse. And it's the degree as well. Everyone does have some degree of abuse because we live down here and people are abusive. But if you've had decades of abuse and you've had very severe abuse, severe enough that you can't remember anything, and that's really a sign for you that you will have gaps in your life that you just can't remember things. And that's the post-traumatic stress sort of shutting you down, numbing you out, so you could actually survive. It's good to get this dealt with. Doesn't matter if you're 15 or 12 or 81. It doesn't really matter. Dealing with it will make your life better. And I feel once you recognise that you're probably suffering from this, like a form of it, even like 40 years later, you can start doing something about it. You don't have to be in a war to have post-traumatic stress. You can just live in the suburbs and get it yourself from your horrible family or your horrible relationship. Go and have a look, go and Google it, go and do some research, and then go and find out if you can get some help for it. I feel that they're starting to realise that people who come out of abuse are actually victims of it. We're just the silent ones who walk around still cooking dinner and still going to the shops and getting to work. But on the inside, it doesn't feel good. And you can start to address some of those things like the depression and the anxiety particularly, and the eating and the sleeping. I think they're four really, really big ones that can look like everyone else has got them too, who hasn't had what you've had. But the reason you have them is that. And then they can get worse. And the more abuse you have as your life goes on, say you're in a family who are quite abusive, like they might not hit you, but maybe they're emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, mentally abusive toward you, you're still in that state of abuse. Adding to your traumas. If you had, like, say, your trauma as a child, you come through an abusive childhood and that was like 20, then every decade you're adding another 10, 20, 30. You can get up to like 90, quite easily towards the end of your life, of how much post-traumatic stress you're actually carrying. You'll often have digestive problems as well, and nerve problems. Your nervous system will be pretty messed up. You also might land up having more pain in your body than normal people. I feel that's actually a very big sign of the stress, the traumatic stress that you have. Be really kind to yourself. Not everyone lived this life that you've lived, but you're still here and you're listening to my podcast, and we're both still alive and we haven't died yet. Let's just see if we can work on this part that we might not have even thought about before and get better. So I'm sending you lots of love, and I'm proud of you for trying to get better. You're not hiding in the hole. You're trying to get better and face it, and I'm really proud of you. So take care of yourself this week, and I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.